Hello and welcome back to 1874 in association with Match Bingo. If you head to 1874.io/Match Bingo and check out their app, with all the football coming up at the moment, you can play along with their bingo cards and try and win yourself a little bit of money. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Matt Law from the Daily Telegraph to talk about the topic that some people want me to talk about, some people don't want me to talk about, but I'm going to do it because Matt actually did an article on the Telegraph yesterday about Jack Grealish potentially returning to Aston Villa. So, Matt, thank you for coming on.
No
First of
worries.
all, we've had a brief chat about this before we've started. What was it that made you decide to write this yesterday? Was it just something that you feel passionately about yourself, or were kind of wheels in motion that made you move towards it?
Well, the day before, so on the Wednesday, I actually broke the news that City weren't going to take him to the Club World Cup. Clearest indication yet that, he's got the summer to arrange a move away from City. No one was hiding away from that at the sort of City or the player end, to be honest with you. And it just felt on Wednesday like that was the sort of nearest we'd got in a story to basically saying it's over for Jack at City. I mean, as much as anything, the office said to me the following morning, look, what next? Like, where's he going to go? What's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. And I kind of said, well, it's a bit early doors for me to start knowing exactly where he's going to go. Clearly, there's going to be a big debate around Villa and whether a romantic return could and should happen. And so, yeah, just wrote on it from that. And actually, Jack helped me a little bit because overnight as well, Jack had tweeted a picture of him or Instagrammed a picture of himself next to Olaf Melberg with claret and blue hearts as well, which is, I noticed immediately that people were chatting a little bit about that on social media. So it was all just there, to be honest with you. And it's kind of, we just chatted about it off air. It's kind of stuff I'd been aware of for a little while, the sort of narrative around Jack.
I have spoke to members of Jack's camp in the last 24 hours. I actually forgot to ask about the Melberg picture and how that came about. Have you got any idea how that happened?
I haven't. There was too much else going on for me to worry about too much. I just like the fact that Melberg looked like he'd walked off a Star Wars movie or something.
Yeah, a very handsome version of Chewbacca, I will say. He's he's certainly aging very, very well, aging better than I am. That's for sure. I kind of was the same as you. Like, you see the claret and blue hearts and kind of, did he put UTV on there? I can't remember if he did or not, but you do start to read into these little things on social media. He was replying to stuff on TalkSport's Instagram as well, because Gabriel Bonlahor had spoke about his treatment with Pep. So Grealish is obviously active on social media at the moment. First off, what have you made of that treatment by Pep? Because it's felt quite personal to me, the way he's been treated in the last few games, not coming on in the cup final, coming on in stoppage time in the last game at the home ground. It kind of feels like Pep was trying to prove a point, but I'm not sure what that point is.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the Fulham game, last game of the season, covering it, the Fulham City game, and he was left out of that squad. So he got a lot of questions on Grealish. And he was really at pains to claim that it was nothing personal. And when I think it was the Sky reporter was pushing him quite hard on it, and fair play, even though he's saying it's not personal, just made you think there's something there. I mean, as you just said, the FA Cup final was the one. Jack had played in every round of the FA Cup for City up to that point, scored some goals in the FA Cup. And I actually thought, I watched the Forest game, the semi-final at Wembley, and I remember watching that game and thinking, bit of the Jack of old, kept taking players on, kept getting fouled, kept carrying the ball. And I think he probably thought that was a performance that even without the league form was deserving of art in the cup final, let alone not getting on. And Pep chucked on a kid who'd never played. I think his name is Everiche, who'd literally never played for City, chucked him on as a sub.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bizarre. And it just, I mean, having spoken to people since my story about the Club World Cup, it feels like that FA Cup moment was the moment the penny properly dropped. I've got to get out of here now.
Yeah, especially in a World Cup season as well, coming up. And you reference in your article that Tuchel rates him, doesn't he? So he's got a chance to go and play in another World Cup, which I'm sure he'll want to do. I mean, it's easy to forget he's turning 30 in September. He still feels like a youngster, doesn't he? You don't think of him as being someone that's about to turn 30. We could probably both agree that it kind of would be the perfect time for him to come back to Villa if the bridges could be built with the fans and he could get that move. The issue with it is at the moment is with everything that's happened with Villa financially and the rules, it's probably not at the moment an ideal time for Villa.
Look, it's a difficult deal for anyone to do, even on loan, because of his wages. It's not easy for any club. Obviously, SR issues and SCR issues. SCR probably actually being the bigger thing with Jack than the
Yeah,
PSR. There'd be a mountain to climb, basically. But they move mountains to get Rashford in. I don't think it's impossible. It will take a lot of clever accountancy and clever manoeuvring. And what one person did say to me back on Wednesday when I wrote the original Club World Cup story is, wherever Jack goes and whatever happens, this isn't going to be something that gets done quick. This is going to be a bit of a saga. It's going to run in the summer because of the amount of money involved, because I don't want this to sound disrespectful to Jack, but he's probably not number one on anybody's list. It's not easy for Villa at all. But what I would say is that left-hand side hasn't really been locked down at Villa. The thought of Grealish and Rodgers being able to sort of interchange between the 10 and the left is nice. And I'm not advocating for this to happen by any means, but if Villa are forced to sell Jacob Ramsey for PSR, after Rodgers, Jacob Ramsey is probably Villa's best ball carrier. So if you're looking for another ball carrier to come and replace who can play on the left, whether it be on loan or permanently, then Jack definitely fits that bill as well. I'm not advocating for that, by the way.
no,
But
sure.
I'm just surmising clearly because of the PSR position and the fact that Jacob, that has to be a possibility at this stage. So there's a lot there. And like you say, it's a good time for Jack because, look, the World Cup, huge motivation for him, absolutely massive. He was devastated to miss out on the Euros last summer in that final cut. He's going to have a real sort of target there for him. Tuchel's made it clear he loves him. And I just feel that surely going back to Villa, can't believe you wouldn't have shirt sales going mad. I still remember when I used to go back to Villa Park as a fan and just laugh at the fact that everyone had a Jack Grealish haircut for a while. It used to amuse me. You'd see all that again. All the kids and some of their dads who should know better would start getting the Jack Grealish haircuts again. Don't see where he's going to get a better environment from his point of view.
No, I mean, you might be able to dig out some old photos and footage of me having a similar haircut as well, and I definitely fall under the bracket of should have known better. I definitely fall in that bracket. I think another thing with Ramsey and Grealish is Grealish would be classed as homegrown in the Europa League squad.
Exactly.
Villa don't have many players that tick that box at the moment. I'm convinced it was one of the main reasons that they probably signed Philogene back last summer, because he classed as a homegrown player. So that's another interesting angle to it. The reason I am for this and would really like it to happen is the manager. And there are parallels with Rashford in the way he came in on loan, I think, is that I just think he feels to me like the kind of player Emery would just really, really enjoy working with and would thrive working with him. I think it would be a two-way street as well, because I think Jack would love working for Unai, and it would be brilliant for Jack's career as well. I just think about how tactically astute Emery is, how he's improved every player at the club since he's been with Villa. The fact that he is a kind of builder backup of players. He's reinvigorated so many careers in his time as a manager. Jack feels like the perfect project for Emery for me as well. And I kind of think if Villa and Emery know he's available, and we know Unai Emery gets what he wants at Villa, it feels to me like something Unai Emery would really, really want and really, really enjoy. Would you share that sentiment?
I mean, this is the great unknown. I literally have no insight as to whether Villa are realistically interested. That's the side of things I have no insight on whatsoever.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone does yet. It's not become clear. Like there's better tacticians. There's managers who are better at other things. I actually think Unai Emery is probably the best at taking a player who's careening in the right direction but has the talent and sending it back in the right direction and actually getting even more out of him. I think that's where he's really proved himself to be completely. He does look like a great Emery project. The one thing, I mean, this would have applied to Rashford too. The one thing about, I spoke to a sporting director of a club on Wednesday, who I can't name the club, but someone I quite often just bounce ideas off and just said, look, let's just play in a pretend world. Would you be interested in Jack Grealish? And he said, talent-wise, no doubt whatsoever, but you've got to get comfortable with his lifestyle. You've got to be in a very good. You've got to be comfortable that lifestyle isn't going to come back and bite you in the arse. Basically, quite frankly, no one's going to go near him if nobody can get comfortable with that. They'll all be scared off him. It was the same with Rashford, and Villa got there with Rashford. So
it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really was. I don't think I said in another show. I don't think Rashford actually gets, because Villa kept him rightfully away from the media whilst he was there. I don't think people realise how kind of all in and committed Rashford was for that
Mm,
6 months he was at Villa. He did everything that was asked for him, but I think because he was kind of shied away from the press by the club, rightly so. I think that kind of the good side of what he was doing actually got lost at that point. Look, Jack's always done the things he does. He's done that when he's had really good periods in his career, and he's done it when he's had bad periods in
mm.
his career as well. That's how I look at it. Do you think I know we've spoke about the left hand side, and we think he'd line up there for Villa. Do you think what Villa potentially do with Asensio plays into this at all? Would you say that both of them would be able to come in the summer, or do you think that would be too much?
It's a good question, and it's a relevant question. It's a tough one to call. I mean, your initial
Mm,
feeling is it's too much, but then actually, why? Like, why is it too much? They're going to need a squad. They're going to need
yeah,
someone to play on the left. They're going to need a 10, and they're also going to need someone there if there's injuries, suspensions. We know he likes to move Rodgers to the right as well, which I know a lot of fans don't like, and they might try and sign someone more naturally for the right. But they certainly need the numbers around there for
yeah,
sure. Um, so I don't think they'd be mutually exclusive. What I think might be difficult would be to loan them both and use two loan
yeah,
spots on such a similar player. Literally guessing, but there shouldn't be an issue on that. And they need look, Jack's numbers haven't been brilliant, but I do think he is still more likely to score more goals than Jacob Ramsey from that position. And I'm not trying to do Ramsey down with that. And Villa need more goals and more goal contributions for positions next season because they were sadly lacking in the season just gone.
yeah. The way I see it as well is at the moment, Asensio, Rashford, and Leon Bailey, because he's going to leave. But there are three kind of attacking players down.
Yeah, yeah,
If you look at that, you'd think they're going to need at least two attacking
yeah.
players to sign. You spoke about loan there. Do you think? I mean, I'm asking for your opinion here rather than anything you might know. Do you think Manchester City would be willing to do a loan deal? Or obviously, they prefer a sale, but do you think a loan is something they'd be willing to do?
Yeah, yeah. Look, they prefer a sale, and this is why it's going to drag as well because they'll start the summer telling clubs it's a sale, and they'll start the summer by trying to find a sale because that's just obvious. But the longer it goes on, they will loan him as well. Definitely, they're not going to turn around and just keep him on the books because they can't sell him and won't loan him. 100% they'll loan him. And look, actually, Villa have got good owner relations with City. We know
Okay.
that Sawiris has good relations with City. He's moved a lot of his business out to Abu Dhabi. There's good relations there. And actually, if you look at it from a City perspective, loaning him to Villa is a great shout because Villa aren't probably what you would consider a title rival, be it they're a top four, top five rival, but they're a team that are definitely capable of taking points off all your rivals. So if I'm City, I'm thinking Villa are a great club to loan to because
Yeah.
it, Grealish then can't play against us twice a season. We probably don't think that Villa can pip us to a title. And yet Villa can take points off Chelsea. They can take points off Liverpool. They can take points off Arsenal. And are they more likely to do that with Jack Grealish in the team? Probably. So they're great. They're actually a great team for them to loan to in a way.
And for him as well, you referenced this in your article. There's a lot of inner relationships at the club. There's players that are still there
Yeah.
that he played with. Just because Villa has completely moved on as a club and he's a completely different beast to when he left. Actually, there's still a lot of players and players he knows really well.
Yeah, well, his best mate was John McGinn, wasn't it? He's very, very tight with Ross Barkley as well, who was
Yeah,
obviously only on loan at the time. Knows Tyrone. I don't know how close he is to Tyrone. I think they move in slightly different circles, but it would feel very comfortable whilst the coaching staff have completely changed and a lot of the other stuff around the club. I mean, Perslow always used to try and sort of hang on to his coattails quite amusingly, didn't he? And he's not
yeah,
there anymore. But player-wise, squad-wise, there's a lot there. We don't know what's going to happen with Emi Mark. Had a bit of a thing with Emi Martinez in that game back in December. But I'd imagine those two would have a bit of a laugh about it if he came back. I
of
can't
course.
believe for 1 minute that would be a problem between them both. So it's just a comfortable, good environment for him to walk back into, despite the fact it's a very different club. We just spoke off air. I mean, this is the ultimate romantic thought of Jack Grealish coming back to Villa, either permanently on loan and helping them win the Europa League and actually win that. Him being the guy that helps them win that first trophy in however many years would just be like the greatest sort of story going.
Yeah, I mean, as I've said, just before I let you go, there's people that don't feel the same way as us, and they'll just point to the fact that over the last couple of years, Jack hasn't really done very much for Manchester City. How confident would you be that in the right environment, he just gets back to somewhere near the level he was at before? I think injuries have played a part, which obviously nobody can do anything about. But how confident are you that in the right setup, you get somewhere near that Jack Grealish that was an absolute joy to watch in a Villa shirt?
Yeah, look, there's two things I'd like to address on that. First, on the playing point of view, the last 2 years have been bad at City, but the treble winning year, I thought he was superb, and I've got to say he was a better player in that season than he was at Villa, because he was a far more rounded player rather than
Yeah,
being
I
this
agree.
sort of free spirit who was allowed to do whatever he liked. And I never thought that Dean Smith got the credit he deserved for the way he managed Jack, by the way. So if you can get him anywhere near back to that. The other point about that whole difference between City and Villa, he wouldn't come back to play this role, but people do forget at Villa he was playing as a number 8. He was allowed to play anywhere he liked, which was part of the joy of him. But he lined up as a number 8. He wasn't a left winger. He wasn't a traditional 10. He was number 8. So he could go back and get the ball off the defence and carry the ball up the pitch for Villa, which he can't do at City, and he's never been allowed to
No.
do at City. And he was just constantly given the ball, carry the ball, carry the ball, carry the ball. And I do think, whilst it wouldn't be that if he came back to Villa, he clearly wouldn't play as a number 8, and not everything would go through him, but he would still be given the ball a lot more than at City, and given a bit more freedom, because I would see that he would be able to sort of interchange with Rodgers. So I've got confidence that he would be given a role that he would feel more comfortable in, and that hopefully would bring out the best. And then the other thing I just want to address on it is that I get that people feel funny about Jack, and that's all just part of his pantomime, isn't it? That is just what happens. I mean, from Jack's side, I get why the family were upset by that, but I think they would get past that and need to get past that, because that's just football. It's pantomime. It happened with Ashley Young. It happens with other players. Then the minute they come back, they're loved. And I just think from a fan perspective, it'd be bizarre to hold that against him. I mean, what's he meant to do? He's come back to City. He's meant to try and win the game from City. Of course, he's going to try and win free kicks off Matt Cash. Of course, he's going to go to ground easily. Of course, he's going to, if the crowd are booing him the whole time, he's going to lift 3 fingers up. And I've also never quite got the narrative around him of, oh, well, he never released a video when he left Villa, and he never said this when he left Villa, and he never said that. Well, what's he meant to do? A, his advisors clearly didn't tell him to do that. And B, it just moved for £100 million to a new football club. Of course, it's about that football club for that moment. And I've been lucky enough to be around Jack a lot around the England camp, particularly when it was the Qatar World Cup. We did a lot of interviews around him then. And he's never hidden the fact he still loves Villa. He's never hidden the fact
No.
that he's still a Villa fan. Just because he doesn't release a video saying it, or intersperse everything it says about Man City with, but I still love Villa, doesn't mean that the affection wasn't there. It's just people just need to sort of give that up a little bit. And I think of Jack could have gone before he went. Jack could have kicked up a fuss. You know, when Spurs came in and that move didn't happen, he could have kicked up a fuss. He didn't. He stayed. He got the club back up. He didn't have to sign a contract with that release clause in. Nobody at the time thought anybody would ever pay that release clause, and it got met. And that's because he did brilliantly for Villa. But, you know, the amount of money he earned Villa at a time when Villa needed it would have been done for
Yeah.
PSR 3 times over if it wasn't for that 300 million.
Yeah, we might be back in the Championship with all the points deductions we'd have probably got, because this predates Unai Emery, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
I'm the same. Everything
But
you've
if people
said, I
don't want to
completely
like
agree
Jack,
with.
that's fine. But I don't want to tell people how they should think about Jack. If people don't want to like Jack, or don't want Jack back, or want to support in a different way, absolutely fine. That's up to them. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm aligned with what you're saying. I agree with you. I think if you don't want him back for footballing reasons, absolutely fine. But to not want him back because he went to City or putting 3 fingers up and things like that, I just don't get that. And players have got a lot better reception at Villa Park, who used to play for the club, having done far, far, far less for the club than Jack did. And I think that's the bit I've always struggled to understand with the people that were worse so vociferous against him, is that, you know, he's given most of his life to the club, and you've earned £100 million off him. And if he'd have left Villa when they were challenging, be upset about it. But Villa at that point weren't really going anywhere. We were a middling Premier League club at best. I understand as an elite athlete why he wanted to go and win stuff at Manchester City. And if he comes back, there's a chance for him to fulfill a childhood dream and win some stuff at Villa as well. And that's massive. And that's something that would bring a lot of joy to a lot of people, a lot of joy to him and his family, and would bring a lot of joy to me. And I suspect you as well, Matt.
Oh, massively. Like I said, it'd be like a movie, wouldn't it? It'd be like a movie. I mean, I got carried away with it. I was stupid. I've got a little lad who was obsessed with him. And, I didn't do the haircut. And I didn't even let my lad do the haircut, to be fair, because we live down in London and it looked a bit weird in London. But I got carried away with it too. But I mean, look, everybody loves a boyhood player, don't they? Boyhood hero. And it was a dream when Jack was playing for Dean Smith, and you had the two of them. And I referenced it in the article, the picture on the back of the on the back of the north stand of them both with the trophy and all that. And if he could come back and it be any way, shape, or form of a success, it's going to be one of the stories and narratives of the summer around Villa, until any point at which the club just turn around either on or off the record and say no, or at any point at which he moves anywhere else. Until then, it's going to get talked about and talked about.
And I imagine it's going to be something you're going to be writing about and talking about all through the summer on the Telegraph, Matt, I would suspect.
People lap him up. He's unbelievable for I mean, you'll know it from working in the media. He's one of those people that just people want to read and hear about him. And that's partly as well because he's a throwback. He's someone people can still relate to a little bit. Everything people criticise him for off the pitch is also why everyone loves him as well, which is the strange thing. He just resonates with people. He cuts through and people want to hear about him.
Yeah, I mean, I can guarantee you in my time working in media, there's two players that I can guarantee I now get asked about every single week. One of them is Jack Grealish, and one of them now is Marcus Rashford, because he's been at Villa. So yeah, I completely understand what you're talking about. Matt, you're on international duty, I know, so I appreciate you giving up your time so much, and I'm sure everyone that watches and listens will appreciate so much that you've given up your time as well. Have you settled in? Obviously, you're on England duty this weekend.
I do just want to make it clear, and I don't have a bedroom or an office at home that's coloured in blues colours. I want to make that perfectly clear. But yeah, literally just got to Barcelona. So we've had one press briefing already. I've got a Tuchel and Reece James press conference coming up in about 2 hours. And then hopefully a little bit of tapas and cerveza this evening would be nice.
It sounds very, very nice. There's definitely worse things to be doing this weekend. Matt, thanks once again for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. Have a safe trip back and enjoy your international duty.
Cheers, Dan.
Right, thanks ever so much to Matt Law from the Telegraph for joining me to have that chat. I really wanted to have that chat with him. Obviously, I read his piece yesterday and it aligned a lot with what I'm thinking, but I do appreciate that it's going to be something that annoys some Villa fans, and it's something that other Villa fans really, really want to see and really, really want me to be talking about. So Matt was the perfect guest for that. And again, I really appreciate him coming on and giving up his time whilst he's away with England. Let me know your thoughts, and don't forget to give the video a like. And please, if you're watching via YouTube, make sure you subscribe with your post notifications on. I say it every week now. The amount of people that watch the shows but aren't subscribed is frightening. It's just a little thing you can do that really helps the channel. So please, if you're enjoying all the content that you're getting at the moment, if you could just do that for me, it would be really, really appreciated. If you're listening via audio, if you could give us a 5-star review and say something nice about us on Apple Podcasts, and leave a comment with your thoughts again on Spotify with how you feel about Jack Grealish, I'd really appreciate that as well. I'm going to be back on Sunday with a show with AVFC Stato, where he's picked out the most interesting stats from Aston Villa's 24-25 season. So we're going to go and look back at the season and look at those interesting stats and talk through them. It'd be great to have Dale back on the channel again. As I've said previously, his account is the best account on Villa social media, so it'll be a pleasure to talk through that stuff with AVFC Stato on Sunday. Plenty of content to come out this week. A little bit of fun with me looking back on my Premier League predictions. If you want to go and watch that, that's YouTube only. Max and I got together earlier on in the week and spoke about Jacob Ramsey. There's been a transfer talk live, which probably holds some relevant information in there still as well. So do go back and check any of the content that you may have missed this week. Nothing on Saturday, so you can enjoy your Saturday without having to look at me or listen to my dulcet tones, which I'm sure your families, at least, even if you don't, will appreciate. So take care, stay safe, and as ever, up the Villa.